Seth Stokes, 106.3 WORD News here at Dark Corner Distillery in downtown Greenville. I am with Roxanne Fenten, the co-owner and business manager here at Dark Corner. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to talk to me about Dark Corner Distillery. We're doing a look at craft breweries and distilleries in the Upstate, and this is an awesome location. Y'all have a great storefront here. Tell me a little bit about the name Dark Corner. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so the Dark Corner is actually coined after, or Dark Corner Distillery is coined after the Dark Corner of Greenville, which is the northeastern area of Greenville. So it's the mountainous, beautiful area. You know, everyone's familiar with the cliffs. You know, it's Landrum, Gowensville, kind of that area of upstate in Greenville. A little bit of Spartanburg in there as well. But it's where my husband Joe grew up, and a lot of moonshining, distilling in that area, and just wanted to keep that history and heritage alive. So that's where the name comes from.
So I'm assuming with a lot of moonshining going on in that area and stuff like that, there's just a particular flavor that maybe the Dark Corner would have that other moonshines from other places might not have.
Yeah, you know, in the U.S., we're known for corn. So in the Dark Corner Distillery, or here at Dark Corner, our moonshine is corn-based. A lot of the moonshines you will find are sugar-based. But in the Dark Corner, we did a ton of research just to find out kind of what was a traditional mash for a moonshine being made in the Dark Corner. So tons of corn being grown in that area. So corn was a big catalyst for the mash bill for the moonshine being made in the Dark Corner. Now, granted, during Prohibition and in the 50s, you know, everyone wanted to kind of make it a little cheaper. So the sugar did come into play in a lot of moonshine. But we wanted to do a settler style of moonshine where sugar wasn't available, and it was much more expensive than corn because, you know, face it, we don't grow sugar in South Carolina really.
Right.
So, but we do grow a lot of corn. So a lot of the farmers and the settlers, they were using corn. So we wanted to do a settler style of moonshine, giving it that rich, buttery corn flavor.
And moonshine's not the only you know, liquor that y'all distill here. I know there's some gin, there's some bourbons, some whiskey, stuff like that.
Correct.
As well.
Yeah, the moonshine was just our very first product. 6 years later, it is still our flagship product.
Nice.
But yeah, we do produce Lewis Redmond Carolina bourbon, which is actually the first bourbon legally produced in South Carolina.
Keyword legally.
Yes, I like to throw that in there because I do know that a lot of illegal liquor has come out of South Carolina, so I don't want to, you know, step on anyone's toes. And then we do produce, we love herbals. So, I mean, gin is definitely a unique product, but we do our Joe Cassie gin. Once again, tying everything locally, you know, to South Carolina, to the Upstate. So we do our Joe Cassie gin, and then we also do a barrel-rested gin, which is kind of like our fusion between a gin and a whiskey. So really nice.
So, you know, you have different whiskeys, different bourbon whiskeys, gins and stuff that are mass produced. You can go into a liquor store and purchase anything you want. What separates a place like Dark Corner with the craft whiskey from, you know, the mass produced stuff that you can get?
Absolutely. So we have gone under expansion. When we started, we made everything in an 80-gallon copper pot still that we designed and actually made here in Greenville. So February of 2016, we went under a full expansion. So we do have 1,000 gallons capacity, still using a copper pot. So still a very traditional whiskey, still giving you that great flavor. But we still locally source all of our corn. So all of our corn is still locally grown right here in the Upstate. Our herbals, like our gin has honeysuckles and magnolias. Our distillers have actually gone out to local farms and local property owners who have let us actually come and harvest their honeysuckles and their magnolias.
Wow.
So we are using locally sourced products in all of for our ingredients.
Now here in the Upstate, I know the craft beer scene is kind of starting to explode, and
Yeah.
you're getting 60, something breweries, craft breweries here. How is the craft whiskey scene going? What's that like here in South Carolina?
Well, the micro distillery, so the craft distillery scene, it has drastically grown since it passed in 2011 here in South Carolina. We were the second micro distillery to open up in South Carolina, but since then, I mean, in the past 3 years, I feel like we have just seen a boom across the state. So it's not near as big as the breweries, but the distilleries are doing the same, and that just creates product knowledge and consumer knowledge. So I think it's great for the state.
Why do you feel that people are starting to lean more towards the craft distillers instead of the so-called big box brands?
They want to know who's making it and where it's coming from. On a micro level, especially, being right here in the heart of downtown, our customers get to come in. They get to meet us. Being one of the founders, I'm here in the store. So they actually get to come and meet me. When I go to, accounts, I'm going and meeting them. It's not a random sales rep. It's actually someone who's involved with the company and really is passionate about the product and a lot more knowledgeable. So I do think that they see that full circle of local. So, they're supporting us, they're supporting local farmers at the exact same time. So it's a really great full circle.
So what kind of challenges do you face in opening up a place like Dark Corner?
Well, thank goodness we have jumped over most of those hurdles, coming up on 6 years. So, when we first started, the city thought we were crazy trying to put a micro distillery in downtown. So the city was just, scratching their head and working with us in amazing capacity to try to figure out what we could do and what we couldn't do, of course following city code and the state legislation as well. But, we are limited on quantities we can produce, which at our level is perfectly fine for us. And then, of course, distribution, at the distillery level, we can sell directly to customers,
Right.
but we can't sell directly to a bar or a restaurant. And being local, a lot of people think that we can do that, but we can't because South Carolina is a 3-tiered state, which is fine. We work with a distributor, and we have a great relationship with them. But that's definitely something that you constantly have to remind people of. So I guess it's kind of a hurdle.
Right.
But, there are those hurdles, but you figure out how to work with them and, make it work with you. So.
What are some of the, other than South Carolina being a 3-tiered state, so you have to go through distributors in order to get it into a restaurant, what are some of the other just things that you have to worry about from a lawmaker standpoint?
I guess it's really, a lot of laws have recently been changed as of literally the very end of May, just on what we can and can't do for our customers. A lot of people do think that, are confused as to why we can only let them try neat samples and can't offer them cocktails.
Okay.
Because we're not a bar atmosphere. But as of late May, the law has been changed, and we haven't implemented anything yet because, once again, you've got to work through logistically how to implement those and implement them correctly to stay within the code. But, it has been implemented that we can serve the samples in the form of a cocktail, which, before that, we could only serve it neat.
Right.
And a lot of people, they're not drinking a ton of neat spirits.
No.
Very few people consume gin neat
No,
and
that's-
at room temperature.
That's not something you see often.
Right.
No, it's not. And I guess if you're able to serve it in a cocktail form, it's a better selling point because then you could probably display the versatility of the spirit.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can really, and it allows you to educate a little further as well. To show the versatility of the product, to show them the mixability and just what they can really do to enhance the flavor, not cover it up, but enhance it.
Now, obviously the craft distillery scene isn't quite what the brewery scene is yet on the beer side of things, but there are, like you said, more and more popping up across South Carolina. What is the camaraderie like between the different distilleries and the people that work there, and the competition as well? How is that dynamic?
I mean, it's kind of across the board. I think right now there are so many micro distilleries opening up at a fairly fast rate. It is hard to really get that camaraderie because there's constantly new micro distilleries being introduced to the scene. So you try to keep up as much as possible. I do think South Carolina does a great job, you know, just cross-promoting each other and, you know, seeing it as healthy competition. I mean, our view here is it's really about educating. You know, the more, I mean, there is obviously a cap that our state can handle, so I'm not saying more the merrier 100%, but if you're opening up with the expectation to help educate the customer and support the local, then I mean, I think that's an amazing thing that the micro distilleries across the South Carolina are doing. So, you know, it is something that I think all the distilleries are constantly working at, but I think the rapport with the distilleries is, you know, it's positive versus, you know, just a cutthroat competitive.
That's always good.
Yeah. Or at least I hope it is. That's
Right.
our view on it. So I can't speak for everyone, but that's definitely our view. So, and I feel like it's the same for most people.
So what is your go-to spirit here at Dark Corner?
Oh, I'm definitely a seasonal drinker.
Okay.
So, I am typically a whiskey person. I mean, I love our Lewis Redmond, but everything we're trying to pull right now is at 4 years, and being only 6 years old, that's hard to do, so we have
Right.
very limited quantity of that. So currently, the Joe Cassie Gin is probably my favorite. I mean, it's just light and refreshing, especially for the South Carolina heat.
Yes.
We just released the very 1st of June a new flavored whiskey in our Whiskey Girl line. So it's our honeysuckle, and I love the honeysuckle. It's just, once again, it's just great for the summer cocktails, but it's not so overbearing in flavor that I can't just drink it over rocks.
I was just about to say I tried that
Okay.
before we started the interview, and it is phenomenal. That's probably
Thank
some of
you.
the smoothest whiskey I've ever tried in my life.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. But for the general, our peach is hard to beat. That's probably our #1 seller. I mean, South Carolina, great peaches. So it's, you know, what can we say? It's hard to not have the peaches the go-to. So I love them all, but right now the gin and the honeysuckle are probably my go-to. You know, you've got a problem when you make a cocktail and you have 2 empty bottles of gin in your cocktail cart. So,
You know.
I know. I figured if I don't throw them away, it looks like I haven't really drank them.
Yeah, exactly. Just refill them with water. People
Right.
never know. Thank you so much for talking to me today about Dark Corner Distillery. I love what y'all have going on here,
Thank you.
and I'll definitely be back.
Oh, we appreciate it. We'd love to have you and anyone who wants to come see us.
Absolutely.
All right.
Seth Stokes, 106.3 WORD News.